This is Sarah,
Aaron,
Brianna,
and Joe. And thanks for popping by MeaningFueled, where we take your problems of practice, your pops, and have a meaning-fueled discussion about where they come from and where to go from there.
We are 4 longtime educators bringing our diverse experiences to the table.
We're harnessing all the energy of popping into your teacher bestie's classroom and bringing it straight to your ears.
Let's get poppin' with today's problem of practice. Let's face it, mornings in a classroom are chaotic. As you are getting the kids at the door, the specialist comes by to tell you they can't take a kid today. Charlie said he didn't eat breakfast. Susie forgot her homework in the car, and you just need a routine or something for the kids to do so you can put out all the fires. But what do you do every single day? What's the best use of this time? And why does this time become so chaotic in the morning?
Well, I think it starts with the variety of timing that students come into the classroom. So I don't know about everybody, but we start at 8:15 technically. Doors open, however, at 8. So the kids have that time to kind of come in, get breakfast, settle, and then are released to their classrooms for 8:15. However, I work morning duty. I'm on the car drop-off line, and I can tell you that those cars are A, stacked up starting at around 7, and B, like, I'm still opening doors at a pretty quick rate, I will tell you. Pretty good at it. But I'm still out there opening doors at 8:25. There is no way those kids who came in right at 8 and the kids who are coming out of their car at 8:25 are having the same start to the morning. So the teachers are kind of like, okay, this kid came in, I had time with them, don't have time for you. What do I do?
And similarly, like, I work morning bus duty, and, you know, we have also this sort of like soft opening grace period for the first like 15, 20 minutes, like before the actual like first bell rings.
Right. It makes sense. You don't want to start the hard academics while kids are in flux.
Sure. And sometimes that last bus is not there when like the actual bell rings, which is the time the teachers are like hypothetically supposed to like start their day, start morning meeting at that moment. And I can tell you then from just kind of walking around the building during that time, you know, because it's a soft open, most teachers have kids, they're eating breakfast. So in my building, they're like they come in and they get stuff and then they nibble and whatever. And then it's just a lot of unstructured time.
Yeah.
And I don't see morning meetings really kicking off until maybe another 10, 15, 20 minutes later. And when you combine that with that soft start time, you know, it's almost 45 minutes now. Like that some kids have been at school and nothing has really happened yet.
Yeah. And I'll say, like, it feels ideal that, hey, if we just like didn't have buses or all the buses magically arrived on time, this would be solved. But the school I worked at, everybody did only drive or walk. There were no buses. So there was no waiting. There was no like, oh, that one got stuck in traffic. Oops. But it was every kid came. They were outside the building. Teachers were on duty to monitor them. And they all technically like quote unquote came in at the same time. And it was still the same chaos. There were still kids that staggered in late. There were still kids that were still eating. And even though breakfast stopped, they're trying to come upstairs. And then it was this mass flood up the staircase of everyone at once. And so then one kid trips another kid, and that's a social problem. And they bring that into your classroom.
Or they're running up the stairs.
Absolutely.
Or I'm
one
sure you've
trip
got
needs the nurse. Another
screaming
thing for
at
you
each
to
other.
do.
You've also got like the dawdler in the back who's like really slow poking their way upstairs because why not?
Or popping by to like see old teacher.
Yeah.
Like really, really
A
going
friend in
slow.
the classroom next door.
Yeah, so at my school, the kids are waiting outside, and then the teachers have to go get the kids. So we're monitoring the hallways, but it's still chaotic, even though there are teachers like in the hallways watching the kids, but we still have to go get them. And then it becomes chaos in the hallways, on the stairwell, in the hallway where backpacks are and things like that. Like Sarah's class always had to go first because if mine went first, then hers came through. It was like salmon swimming upstream. And it's chaotic. It is just chaotic. So the chaos doesn't stop there because kids are staggered entering into the classroom. So like what did the kids do when they came into the rooms after that the arrival chaos happen, then what's happening next in their day before morning meeting is starting?
So I'll say, like, I think everyone has the like morning routine that kids complete, after they hang up their backpack and their coat and they come in, they put their folder here, they sign in this way or that way, they order lunch.
Gotta have those routines.
Gotta have them. And I mean, I don't know. I would change them every year for whatever reason. Sometimes I did it on the smartboard. Sometimes I did it on a clipboard. Other times it was a magnet. I just like remaking things, I guess.
Or it was chaotic and
right.
it didn't work.
And I thought one of these would be better. And I don't know. The same kids who forget to do the routine.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
But after that, I feel like I really settled in for a while on the unfinished work. It was like, okay, like we got to use this time well. And so it's a great time for kids to like finish up all those things they didn't get to. They had an unfinished work folder, and that was like number one on the board for them to do every morning during this time. And inevitably, the kids who had the largest unfinished work folder were the kids who were on the bus that came late, were the kids who couldn't get out of their own house early in the morning, and parents drove them to school late. And it always felt like the kids who had like one problem left on one worksheet were the kids who had unfinished work that they would complete during this time. And then they'd be like, what do we do now? And the kids who had the giant folder
that wouldn't close.
that
Can't close.
couldn't even close.
Too much in
Busting
it.
at the seams.
Right. They maybe opened the folder during this time, but never actually got any of the unfinished work
I was
done.
gonna say, I would have the kid who'd like open it up, get one out, solve like one problem on it, and I'd be like, okay, time to pack up. And they're like,
And in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is a good time, because if the folder is getting large because they're like having difficulty with stuff, like I'm not doing anything during this time, right? I'm available because, I'm not directly teaching. And like, obviously that's a lie, I told myself, because
Ring,
of
ring.
course, right.
Answer the
doing
phone.
the 10 things that you all described of, the morning chaos. And so that wasn't really it either. I wasn't like getting to work with those kids who like I needed to see who are having trouble with things. No.
Like for those non-teachers out there listening, it's like attendance and lunch count. And then you've got 4 teachers coming to talk to you about 4 different things.
Answer the phone.
This kid like fell and was at the nurse and is bleeding. It's just, it's chaos.
Mm-hmm. Someone forgot their backpack and now it's in the office. So can you send them down to come pick it up?
Ring, ring, answer the phone.
Like, it's maddening. So unfinished work did not work for me.
Like Joe, I had some lofty goals. I was like, you know what I can use this morning work time for is like those extra bonus things that connect to my curriculum, but I don't have time to actually do as part of the lesson. I'll do the like color by number to practice your multiplication facts. I'll do the what would you pack in your crate if you were a pilgrim on the Mayflower activity. And it was connected to the curriculum. It was what I was teaching in math and social studies and science. And then I would feel terrible because I'd have kids missing out on that. Mm-hmm. And on top of like feeling bad, it also was bad because those were the kids who they needed the practice, or they should do that creative activity that goes with the lesson we did yesterday, or they need to do this pre-thinking about the lesson that I'm going to teach later today. And when I have these like lofty curriculum connected goals for morning work, I then was like, okay, I need to catch up Johnny and Sally before social studies. So now I'm giving up my social studies minutes to catch them up on things that they missed for morning work. And like, it just never felt good. And while I'm over here trying to like cram extra curriculum in, my friend down the hall who teaches kindergarten popped by this morning to be like, it's Groundhog's Day. What are you doing for Groundhog's Day? And I was like, I don't know.
It's Groundhog's Day?
Asking the kids, I guess, thank you for reminding me it's Groundhog's Day. Or like, and she'd have these for like everything. Like, first day of fall, what are you doing? And I'm like, nothing. And
First day of fall is going to be tomorrow.
So, right. So like, I was just at a loss. I was at a loss because both of my kind of attempts at doing curriculum wasn't working. And then like these last minute, oh my God, it's Groundhog's Day and let me go find something to print real fast was also just turned into terrible.
Yeah, I tried to do math fact practice with my kids as well in the morning because my math curriculum does not allow for the math fact practice. And so I was like, oh, this is a great time. But then those kids couldn't find their cards, or this one came late, didn't have a chance to practice their math facts. So when in the day are they going to do that instead? Or, oh, can't find them. Let's put them on the iPad. Then the iPad's dead. Then they need their login. And it gets chaos and it doesn't work. And then I'm trying to help all these kids and it's just not working. And then sometimes I'd forget to put out morning work. And then I would just be like, draw a silly snail going to the beach to try to like boost their creativity. But then again, the kids were like crumpling up paper or making a paper airplane out of things. And like, instead of like, doing something that was meaningful. And
they knew it was bullshit.
Yes, they did. No, they did. They did.
I mean, right.
And then,
They're
know
like,
what?
this is the teacher forgot.
Right.
I mean,
To get right to it.
Right.
Why am I drawing a silly snail?
Well,
Right.
and then it's like, I'm just going to let that kid do that paper airplane
Right.
because I need to take lunch count and I need
Right.
to, this one, it wasn't working. So.
And I had the opposite experience because the expectation at my school was that kids just come in and then they just wait that 15 minutes for a morning meeting to begin. What do you mean morning work? What's that? So I had the opposite one where it was like, they're just going to come and they're just going to wait nicely on the rug.
And how did that go?
Did they expect fifth graders to wait nicely on a rug?
Yes. And I have to tell you, I mean, I would like to say it's just my first year, but many a class could not sit quietly on the rug. And the social drama from the kid that got nudged as the salmons went upstream, up the stairs, couldn't handle it. And they're crying and the nurse is calling and this other person's here. And the kids know that you're preoccupied with taking attendance and doing lunch count. And so inevitably, it's just this social chaos ensues until it takes time to finally get ready to have morning meetings. So not having anything didn't really work either. So I found myself making morning work on my own and trying to tie it in or make things cool or make things all these meaningful. But like it took me a lot of time. And that was all that prep time that I wasn't using towards social studies or science or actual curriculum work. And I was using it to make morning work, which sometimes went well, but then it was all of my time was being eaten up for 15 minutes of the day.
Right. And then you're up at like 8 p.m. being like, gotta plan that math lesson for tomorrow. Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think you're like, well, again, maybe someone's thinking, well, why would you like spend that time? But like ultimately, if your day doesn't start right, it's not gonna go well.
Right.
I think we all know that like how your day begins and the way in which we help kids regulate and start is pretty important. And so even though it seems like, oh, this is a pretty short amount of time to like spend energy planning for, it's a pretty important part.
And like with the things that pop up from time to time with a kiddo, a parent, another adult in the building, that like 15-minute grace period for student arrivals can like quickly become 30 minutes. And like you have to fill that with something because nothing doesn't work, as Erin said. And like curriculum stuff doesn't really work. And unfinished work that really needs teacher support doesn't really work. So we have a lot of things that don't really work. What does?
So this is a problem of practice that we feel is pretty universal and everyone is facing. And to be honest, this is not the first time that we have talked about this. I think with all of the chaos in the mornings, we were all seeking a solution about how to make this time more meaningful. And that is actually what led to us creating MeaningFueled. We decided to kind of put our heads together and create something to solve this time.
How to fuel your morning.
That's right. And we were partly inspired by Sarah's jealousy of that teacher who seemed to always be doing the fun thing during the morning time and knew about all of those celebrations.
But those celebrations don't happen every single day of the year.
Right.
So my principal used to announce every morning that it was National Donut Day, National Pasta Day, or that today was a celebration of something. So we decided to look into the national days because turns out there is one for every single day of the year.
In fact, there's more than one for every day of the year. There's like some days there's 5. And so what we decided to do was actually pick 2 for every single day, because another thing that we wanted to make sure with anything that we created was that it gave us options. And we are for different teachers, for different populations, and we wanted to make sure that we could do something that felt most meaningful or interesting to our class on a given day. With that, we were also looking to make sure that it could be differentiated. So we've got a lower elementary and an upper elementary version of each activity.
Which is nice, especially when you're in those like middle-ish grades in like third grade, where like you have some kids who really need the challenge of the upper elementary side and the kids who really do need the support that the lower elementary side gives. So it's a lot of options available to you.
And still same content, very similar looking activity, just done in a different way.
Yeah. So basically what you get is a short reading that dives into the history of that day. If there's science involved in that day, their science background, any cultural connections that are involved. It's important that we provide students with, windows into other people's cultures and mirrors of their own. So we tried to include that in there. And then there's an activity. And our goal with the activity was for it to be creative, for it to be fun, and for it to be, interesting.
Mm-hmm. Spark curiosity.
Spark curiosity, yeah.
Yeah. Also something that's like shareable, something that like the kids could build like their class community more around too.
Yeah, and I think, so I actually wanted to test them out in my classroom. So I tested them out in my classroom and the kids really enjoyed them. And I started to use them every single day. So the kids came in, read the morning message, and knew that this particular reading and activity were on the rocking chair ready for them to go. And it turns out they loved them. When I didn't get a chance to copy it, because inevitably that still happens, it threw them off their routine and there was chaos again.
What national day is it?
Exactly.
Well, and then there was like, what do you mean we don't have a reading? And, and then, to Sarah's point, it also gives kids an opportunity to say, hey, I need a partner for this game, or hey, can we read this together? Because maybe that kid can't read the reading, but their partner can. And so they're then having to work together to find partners. They're having to work together to do the readings. They're having to work together. There are some that we have that is go ask a friend, go find a friend that has, their favorite apple is a Macintosh apple or something like that. And it gives the kids an opportunity to do that without the teacher helping them. And it gives us as teachers an opportunity to, put out those other fires that are happening in the morning chaos.
Because it was important to us that this be as independent as possible.
Correct.
I mean, I certainly think in the younger elementary, the activity is like good to go. Mm-hmm. They can do it independently. You might do the reading like after they've done the activity as like a whole class. But ultimately, we want this to be low preparation, like you make a copy front and back, and like that is it. That is all that needs to happen. Even if there is a game, it's like tear off a piece of this page and
roll it into a ball, and then the kids are tossing it onto our little like target thing, and they're like, we get to throw paper today?
Because
like,
yes, you should have a little bit of fun.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
So
100%.
We also wanted to have a variety of different things to do every day. So while you get a choice for the kids in front of you, we also wanted to make sure there's a variety. So we're going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of some of our favorite days from the upcoming month of October.
So one of the favorite days I made in October was Apple Day. And the reason that it is one of my favorites is because it is a word search. And I know that sounds weird, but I think there were so many days that I would run off some random word search that had no meaning, right? It was like
apple,
tree, right?
Green.
Orchard, fall.
Kids had no context.
They did not learn anything from doing it. Like they were quiet and did a word search. And for Apple Day, what we did was we created a word search where they're actually searching for all the different varieties of apples, and they're learning about each different kind and which ones are good for baking, which ones are more tart, and which ones are more sweet. And, it's giving them like a little bit of an education on all things Apple while they search for these words in the word search. And that reading was also really fascinating to write because I learned that apples actually come from Kazakhstan in Central Asia, and then were sort of spread out through the Roman Empire, and then eventually came to America with like the first explorers, colonizers to come over here. And so something that we think of as like being all American actually has its roots in Central Asia, which was just a really interesting history, and something that, again, feels like it highlights maybe a culture that's not as highlighted all of the time in the curriculum.
Yeah. And speaking of history, one of my favorite days is Real Sugar Day. So it actually ties in quite a bit to curriculum, which I know we said like trying to do something extra, but this is more like adjacent than just extra. And so it goes into depth about a lot of the history of where sugar comes from. And then the activity gets kids a real world experience of what sugar looks like in a grocery store, how you can read a label, what that means, and gets a tiny little bit of math practice in there, but something that's doable and low stakes for the morning.
So I chose to talk about pasta day because I love pasta. And I'm half Italian, so I feel like I needed to do that one and talk about that one. But this one actually goes into not just pasta from Italy. It talks about noodles from China and gives the kids an opportunity to look at different cultures and how they're using noodles and pasta things. So in this activity to go along with it, they have pasta, like tortellini pasta, is actually rooted from little cakes. A tort.
Right, tortas, right, in Italian, right?
Right. So, and one of them is related to a butterfly.
Farfalle.
Yes.
My favorite.
Bow tie shape. But
Yes,
really
yes.
means butterfly in Italian.
Yes. So then they are able to create their own pasta and create their own real world thing that they're basing it off of. And then what we did in my room that last year was I had them walk around the room and do a gallery walk. And so they were able to see what their peers chose to create as their pasta. And I thought that was cool too, to be able to kind of look at other people's work. And because again, I feel like you don't have a lot of opportunity to do that.
So in addition to the national days, every day we also have holidays for kids to learn about if they don't celebrate them, to kind of learn the history of if you do celebrate them, to learn a little bit more about them. So I really love what we did with Halloween this month in terms of kind of learning the history and the Celtic origins of Halloween, but also, the different ways people celebrate it today by maybe carrying different colored pumpkins while they're trick-or-treating and what those different colors might mean. And even to learning more about the famous monsters that we associate with Halloween, like Dracula and Frankenstein and ghosts, and where those kind of come from, which I thought was like an interesting take on your traditional kind of Halloween sheets that are available out there.
And this past year, Halloween was also on the same day as Diwali. So I actually was able to give both packets out to the whole class. And those kiddos in my room that were celebrating Diwali that night were so excited that I knew that we were celebrating that too.
Because they thought, especially with Halloween,
it would be overshadowed.
Right,
And that was so special for me to see them light up when they saw that I had some Diwali packets and readings and activities to go along with it, because they were seen. Yep. And I think that's really important. And that's what we're trying to do here as well.
I mean, obviously, we're just going to name it. We're super biased because we're these creators. What? So don't just take our word for it. I'm actually going to take a second to read you a review from a teacher that we got. Shout out to them. Thank you for the review. We do value your opinions, and we do value how it's working in your classroom. So this review said that this was a creative and fun start to the day. My students loved celebrating International Scribble Day with this morning work. It was the perfect blend of creativity and structure to ease into our routine. The activities were engaging, and I truly appreciated how it encouraged artistic expression while still reinforcing literacy and writing skills. It sparked great conversations and set a positive tone, helping make mornings more meaningful and fun.
Wow.
again, shout out. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
You're
it.
going to think we like paid for that response or it's
We
not
did
real.
not.
We promise it is. You can see it. It's on our TPT store.
And we so appreciate.
And it wasn't our friend who we made.
Right.
Write it for us.
And so I think at the end of the day, we just, make sure that you're following us. And I think, we also wanted to make a product that it's less than the amount that you pay for a coffee that you pick up in the morning, even when you say you're not going to.
Yep.
Every day
on
I
your
tell
way to
myself
work.
that.
Yep. And so I think it's something that is easy, simple to pay for. And we're going to have some free giveaways this fall. So be on the lookout for those.
Yeah.
So thank you for popping by MeaningFueled today. Remember, we are here for you anytime. Our door is always open. You can visit our website at getmeaningfueled.com for ideas and inspiration to bring to your classroom.
Follow us at Get MeaningFueled on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads, and just MeaningFueled on Facebook.
You can share your thoughts on today's problem of practice and how mornings work in your school by commenting on any of our posts or by viewing the full-length episode over on YouTube.
And you can always send us your own pops to discuss with a DM or at getmeaningfueled@gmail.com.
And if you are listening to this in the morning, I hope it is not as chaotic.